Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Generations of the Grid. We're your hosts. I'm Wes.
I'm Candace.
I'm Damien.
And I don't know if you can see it in our eyes, on our faces, and the energy in the room, but we're all a little in shambles here for a lot of different reasons. The root reason being the presidential election. So this is going to be a very special episode that we're going to do where we're going to discuss all things that's been dealt with this 2024 election, what's to come. We're not doing fantasy today, guys. We're not doing a make believe world where the good guys always win and they always prevail and everything is always going to be okay in the end. That's not reality for a lot of us when we get off of this recording. That's not reality for most people in life. So we're going to dive into that reality for this episode. It's going to be, we're getting political, so things are going to be said that you're probably not going to like. But this time it's not going to be to troll or anything like that. These are going to be conversations that we're going to have that are going to be tough to have, but have to be had so we can all get through this together. Okay. And I think I wanted to start off after that by saying, how is everybody feeling?
Like I'm losing my fucking mind. Like I'm really someone in an insane asylum. This is what Dr. Harlan Quinzel must have felt like before she snapped. You know, just that. Always good.
The best way to put it is I'm not nearly as upset as everyone else, but that has to do with the fact that I saw this coming from the very beginning and that it was expected. I'm going to say off the bat that most likely during this episode, I will be the bad guy. I'm going to say some things people really won't want to hear. I am going to be cold, but that unfortunately is how I view politics.
I honestly, me and Dame are probably feeling the exact same thing. The difference between me and Dame, I think, is where I saw this coming, I was still hopeful. I was hoping to be surprised that fantasy has come to life and we did it, guys. It's everything's going to be okay for once.
Yep. How'd that going for you?
Oh, it happened and it was just, well, it didn't hit me in my chest, but I think the effects of what's going to happen aren't really going to be felt until it's, because they're technically still counting votes, they're still tallying, there's still a chance of like recounts being called. I don't really usually react until the clock hits zero, until nothing is going to change the result. Before I start, okay, this is how I'm feeling. But for the most part, I'm just preparing for what's to come. And what's to come is Project 2025. And while I myself have not read,
I haven't either.
I'm pretty sure most people haven't actually read it. But I'm gonna let you guys know I'm going to read it. And I'm going to do a special episode where I'm gonna get on here and I'm going to break that thing down word for word, bar for bar. It's going to be so boring, but you're going to know what the fuck is it. Okay. So it seems it's already started. There was a few mass texts sent out about letting people know that they've been assigned to a slave plantation in their area, and they are too. I'm about to read it right now. Greetings. You have been. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I lost it. Get back to it. Greetings. You have been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. Be ready at 12 a.m. November 13th, sharp with your belongings. Our executive slaves will come get you on a bus. Be prepared to be searched down. I'm not even going to read the rest of that stupid shit. because I'm pretty sure you guys are going to see it by the time you hear this. But personally, I saw on my way to work just this morning. This is the morning after the election. Election's on Tuesday. It is Wednesday. We're recording this Wednesday night. This morning, on my way to work, I saw some wannabe purge niggas on motorbikes holding up traffic with them little purge masks on. I'm like, can we finish the election? We're not even done yet, and people already maxing out. That's where they're going to get us. They're going to get us up here. That's how Trump won. Kamala tried to play his game. The concerts, the A-list hip hop Avengers. Eminem. Let me. Somebody else want to go?
This entire election has been an absolute clown show. But again, I saw all of this happen well before this started. Okay, because the unfortunate fact of the matter is that America has been on a path to either a complete, or not a complete reset, but a major reset, or a very huge conflict. And I'm talking not conflict with outside, I'm talking inner conflict. Because it's gone between the divides of people, between this absurd misuse of politics, between information being shifted and changed to suit either side's views. It has been an absolute madness. And like all things, eventually it reaches a breaking point. And this was just one of the points on this map, and I know it's going to get worse. It's going to get oh so worse. And then we'll be presented with an opportunity. But like I said, for me, I saw this coming, and I don't feel anything. Because like I said, or like Wes was saying, the difference between us is I don't even attempt for hope. I'm perfectly fine with despair. Because I already know how it's going to go.
Andy, kind of quiet.
This affects you the most.
Oh, thanks. Thank you for reminding me that. Yeah. Like, honestly, I feel like it all stems back to 2016. If Trump did not win the first time around, if Bernie Sanders was on that ticket instead of Hillary, and if Bernie would have won, Trump would probably not have tried again, or he wouldn't have such fervent followers because he would have lost the first time and would not have looked like a winner that he does to his little orange Kool-Aid cult. There's one now. Here's the thing. Like now, it's one thing if you actually like you agree with his policies on a political level. When I say like orange Kool-Aid cult, I'm talking about like the people who like go to like those rallies and they're like really like those like really extremists and they're like hang on every word he says and if he like the kind of people like the people like if Trump said that the sky was purple, they wouldn't even look up. They'll just take his word for it and agreed. No fact checking, no nothing, just blind faith following, which is very cult like mentality. That's why I like to call it the orange Kool-Aid cult. Because that man is using a spray tan that is way too orange for his natural complexion. I'm sorry. Listen, whoever's doing his spray tan ain't doing him justice. He's rich enough to he's rich enough where he should be looking good, not looking like shit.
Agreed.
And then also too, the Associated Press has. I'm trying to pull up the article. Give me 1 second. Do you guys want to talk while I pull this up?
The whole Bernie thing, that whole wave back in 2016. To be honest, I'm still not even sure if Bernie would have ran that he would have won. Trump, and I only feel like Trump only lost in 2020 because he told people not to go to the polls, so his people didn't show up.
Because his people will do anything that he tells them to. So if he tells them not to go vote, they won't go vote, even though they want his president. And then they go screaming and raving and hooting and hollering at the Capitol on January 6th or whatever, and act like a bunch of children. And yet, if you guys actually would have voted, he probably would have had 2 consecutive terms. But instead, we get Joe Biden. So the only time the Democrats beat Donald Trump is with an old white guy.
Yeah, I mean I'm sorry to tell y'all, but yeah, That's what is believed. Like the only way that we were going to continuously beat Trump is with an old white guy, because the whole
Oh, they chose the wrong old white guy. It should have been Bernie.
agreed. Hindsight is always 2020, and
Yeah.
unfortunately,
I love my independent Bernie Sanders.
yeah,
I love
unfortunately,
it.
Bernie's now too old, so they can't choose him anymore. His time has
Well,
passed.
no. Yeah, well, he got reelected into the Senate representing Vermont again.
Oh, that's fantastic. We're going to need that. And then
Yeah.
speaking
So at least he's still fighting the fight. He can't fight as president, but he's still fighting in line.
speaking of that, it looks like Trump is going to have a hat trick. That's when that's when you got Republican president, Republican ran Senate, Republican ran House, and
A
Republican ran
Republican ran
Supreme.
Supreme Court.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, they can do what they want at this point. And the first thing they said they were going to do was kick all the immigrants out. But I'm pretty sure a big thing that he's really going to try to do is get that third term, or just completely ban the limit on how many terms you can have. Because once you do that,
Okay, do you want to hear something crazy I heard at work? Okay, so I heard somebody in a waiting room at my job, like some old dude, clearly a Trump supporter, saying that saying that, oh, since now we have like the power and we have friends in Supreme Court, we could get rid of the consecutive terms for presidency so Trump can stay in, and then we could rewrite it so Trump could pick the next successor so we won't have to deal with liberalism and women's rights again.
it's
Yeah, my manager had to remove all the sharp objects away from me. It's like, no. It's like, no. Just like, it's like those times, it's like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to the back again. Just not be at the front at my job. I'm just going to stick to the back because I just don't want to deal with people face to face anymore. Because then I don't have to hear things like that. That makes my blood boil. And you're seeing this in a waiting room full of mostly women who are working there, taking care of you.
I want to drum up some stats real quick on why Trump won and why Kamala lost. No, like this.
Because the majority of the country are misogynistic racists.
No, that's what liberals spit. There's propaganda on both sides, guys. Let me say that out front. There is propaganda on both sides. This is politics. You play to win the game.
On the home base streets, because when it came to like majority of Trump supporters that I've met on the streets, like just being out in public in general, are those kind of people, mostly men, mostly older men, who want to yell at me to go back to the kitchen making them a sandwich, and I say, "Fuck you, make your own sandwich."
But see, here's the thing. Trump didn't win because of his supporters. Not really. They were a chunk. Trump won because of the stupidity of Democrats and the failure
That is
of their
true too.
ability to link
Oh
Democrats
my God.
together.
Did you like read Bernie Sanders' scathing letter totally burning the Democratic Party for their fucker?
It's because Democrats
It's
have
like,
failed. They have failed in every aspect and are not united in any way, which makes them an easy enemy to defeat. Democrats are weak. And the
yeah.
reason why Trump won was because of how many people could not support the Democrats. That was the issue. They could not get behind Kamala. And so the other side won.
That makes me wonder, was that the reason why they constantly asked Kamala how was she going to do things differently from Biden's administration, which to me is a very plausible question. You know what I'm saying? How are you going to be
Yeah.
different from the president that you served under? She never answers the question. Not once. She doesn't claim to keep those same policies. She doesn't claim to do anything different. That, even if you're stupid, you can tell, well, what exactly are we doing here? And then she just goes back to downing on Trump. And I watch debates. I'm saying things from my own point of view. I don't have to listen to what anybody else has to say. I've seen these things happen. I watch Fox, I watch NBC, I watch CNN, I watch everybody from all perspectives. Okay? Kamala did a lot of things incorrectly, all from the beginning all the way to the end. I don't know if it was her. I don't know if it was the Democratic Party as a whole, which it probably was. What they should have did, keep Joe Blow Biden, Because like I said, Bernie's gone.
Mm,
Bernie's gone. Joe Blow Biden,
no,
keep him
I
in.
was
Keep him in. And then if you want to knock him out in the middle of his presidency, let Kamala step up into the presidency, do that. Then let her show that she could do her thing. So when they come around with the elections again, she actually has a good chance of winning because we know who she is now. We still don't know who Kamala is. And the only thing we're learning about her are bad things because of the propaganda that the other side is spilling out. What are we
Yeah, well,
supposed to do
that's
with that?
another thing too. The one side likes to spew shit ton of propaganda more than the other side. The other
Ah,
side likes to give facts and information. The other one just is like
no. Let me ask
use word vomit.
That's where they messed up. They played Trump's game. We know Trump is full of shit. Pointing out that he's
Mm-hmm.
full of shit isn't going to do anything. That's what they kept trying to do. Trump is this, Trump is that. We know. We want to know about you and what you're doing. She wouldn't let us know. She's too busy trying to down Trump, which you don't need to do. He's going to do it himself. They know
Yeah,
he's dumb. They know. They know. You don't have to point it out. You're wasting time doing that. That's one of
yeah,
the places she fucked up, playing his game. Wasn't
yeah.
gonna work like
I just I just pulled up the Associated Press article, pretty much outlining what Trump's administration wants to do moving forward for the next 4 years. So one is the immigration, pretty much kick all the he's pitching ideological screening for would-be entrants, ending birthright citizenship, and reinstitute first-term policies such as remain in Mexico, limiting migrants to public health grounds, and severely limiting or banning entrants from certain majority Muslim nations.
so that's gonna segue right into what I was talking about of who
Mm-hmm.
voted for Kamala and who voted for Trump. They showed, and these are like 70% and up statistics. People who were
Yeah,
more concerned about their pocket, their financials, and immigration voted for Trump. Those more concerned about abortion and the state of democracy, which I thought was interesting, voted for Kamala. And everything you
yeah,
just said supports that information.
yeah. So yeah, so they're like, so he wants to do more. But it's like But like my thing is, he's pitching ideological screening. Like, so if someone wants to immigrate to this country and they don't follow their certain ideological views of whatever the questionnaire is, they're gonna not allow them because they're not. I don't know, it makes no sense to me. And then getting rid of the ending birthright citizenship, which would require a whole constitutional change, because our whole constitution was always since the beginning birthright citizenship. You were born in this land, you are part of this land. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, regardless where your parents came from. So you're going to have to like totally rewrite something that's in the Constitution in a nutshell. And then again, also too, it's also birthright citizenship is very rare around the world. We're only one of the few countries that does it. Like in Italy, for example, like one or both parents have to be Italian citizens for you to be Italian citizen, regardless if you're born in Italy or not.
Dang.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when I said I was going to be a villain? I was going to say
Yeah.
some things that a lot of people don't want to hear. This is going to be one of those things. First off, we don't have rights. Rights are a made-up concept. They don't exist, and so they can be given and taken away by anybody with enough power.
Yes.
So, the idea that you have rights at birth is just that. It's an idea. There's nothing that keeps that in place. That's one. Two, Kamala ended up making abortion her major pull line. It was abortion was a important issue, but and this is going people are going to hate me for saying this, it was not important enough for it to be the sole issue. Okay? As much as people were concerned with abortion, a lot more people are concerned with their pocket and with the fact that we cannot afford living. We cannot even think about the option of abortion if we cannot afford groceries. She did not give a plan to address the current economic state, and as such, it created a huge weakness. And then, there's my third point. This has to deal with our media. And what the fuck is the state of democracy. That is the most vague thing in existence. Who
So
did you ask?
let me
What?
explain what they meant by that, because I knew what they meant when I heard it. And I got that specific statement from NBC. Let me just say that specifically. The concern when they say state of democracy is what Trump's trying to do, which is essentially get rid of democracy. He's trying to become a dictator. He's trying to literally become a king, which is a monarchy. That's part of what they were talking about, taking people's abortion rights, things like that. That's what they were talking about when they were talking about the state of democracy, because it's all encompassing underneath the umbrella.
Yeah, because if you could take away that, what else are you going to take away from it next? It's the slope. It's like trying to stop the train before it gets past the platform.
Another statement I will not be liked for. Democracy is an incredibly stupid system. It is the best of the systems, but it is incredibly fucking stupid. Because
Yeah. I
democracy,
would disagree with the statement stupid. I would say it's fragile.
Yeah,
sure,
I agree with that.
It's
Yeah.
a fragile system.
democracy requires the involvement of all of us, right? That's a statement we can agree on? Okay. Here's an issue with this thing. One, humans are stupid, so that will always be an issue.
That's the main thing.
Two, humans are naturally going to fight each other, not come together. I know it is a beautiful thought
Mm-hmm.
that humans will lift each other up, that we all love each other. No,
No.
no, no. Humans will and will always, not always, let me not do that. Humans are more likely
No.
to tear each other down before they are to build each other up.
I want to, unfortunately, off of what you're saying, and I agree. This conversation we had today, that if I'm not mistaken, the founder of democracy was stabbed to death at a democratic event, right? Am I not mistaken? Am I right about that, guys?
Like, well, democracy started in Greece and since then has had a history of violence within it. So yeah,
So let me ask y'all
Jules by his fellow senators.
let me
Guys
ask
march.
let me ask you guys something, because this is actually a concept that we just recently we're writing a nice premiere Power Ranger story, and this is actually a concept that we just recently touched on an episode that I just wrote. If you have democracy, right, and democracy has
Oh
a
boy.
history of violence within its ranks, is that honestly better than a monarchy or a what's the other one? A dictatorship where there is peace within the ranks. It may not be a fun time, but ain't nobody out killing each other. You don't got to
Yeah,
worry
but you
about
can
your
tell
politicians getting stabbed in the back.
but that still happens in dictatorships and monarchies.
Not as often.
No matter what political system you use,
Not as often.
there will still be violence.
But not as often though. That's my point. If you're getting a significantly less drop in your need to have to, or your need to feel like you have to protect yourself, because everything is under control of one person's own agenda. That's the thing. Everybody has their own agenda, and that's why democracy won't work as well. People are stupid. People don't want to work together. People have their own fucking agendas, and everybody can't reach their goals. I'm sorry, everybody can't reach their dreams. Somebody is going to have to get stuck in the mud. Some people are going to have to be stepping stones. Everybody can't get to the stars.
But what you call it too. But here's the thing: democracy works best when the government fears its people. Right now, the government in America does not fear its people. The politicians do not fear its people. They have become too cushy in their positions because they're getting these nice little money from their lobbyists. And for example, you've got people that are still in the House of Representatives who's been there since the Jim Crow laws. They're too cushy. They gotta go.
Yep. That is an exceptional point. And it leads into another statement that may not be nice to hear. Americans have gotten weak. We've gotten weak in our beliefs, in our convictions, in our wills. We would rather roll over than actually put up a fight for anything.
Except when we're attacked by an outside enemy. as we've seen
We
after
are.
9/11, after we've seen in Pearl Harbor. The only time you really see Americans united is when we are attacked by outside forces
January 6th,
amongst ourselves, because we are a very, to our core, a warring nation. If we're not fighting somebody else, we are fighting ourselves.
January 6th is
So if
a
you want
prime
America
example.
to come united again, somebody's got to have to attack us.
January 6th is a prime example of we become weak. When you get that kind of uproar where thousands are marching on the Capitol, they get and break inside the Capitol, and you walk away with only a handful of casualties, that's honestly not as bad as it could have been, and honestly looks like some weak shit to me. I remember the feeling when we were all watching it, it was all unfolding. We thought it was about to be some big banana shit. It was literally more just aggressive marching. No more people died than any regular march that somebody just got trampled on because everybody started panicking and running and stuff like that because somebody sprayed some pepper spray in the crowd. Even that was as aggressive as we've been in decades, and still nothing
Vandalism. So
really,
we've got, and they drew a whole bunch of vandalism inside.
nothing happened. Nothing was really damaged. No, it was literally just aggressive marching, and it's so if that's the best we can do, then they have every right not to be afraid of us. We ain't gonna do shit. Nothing. Nothing. We going Twitter fingers. We want Twitter fingers. We're
Yeah.
upset.
Well, yeah. Well, like I said, like unless we are attacked by an outside force, we will fight amongst each other. Like 80% of American history, 80% of the time we were at war. 20% of the times when we were at peace. We know more about war as a country than we do as peace. It's like we're like a country where it's like if America was like a person, it can't handle being by itself. It has to be surrounded. It has to be attacking. It has to be doing something. Because if it sits in a room quietly by itself, it's going to start internalizing and attacking itself. Because it's got self-esteem issues.
Our country is built on hollow bones. That's why. We're a young country. And even when we were founded, it was founded, first of all, it was founded because they went to the wrong place. And then you found out where you were. And then you proceeded to trick, befriend, and betray and conquer the people of this country, take their shit, and then tell them to be gracious that they have anything now, which is reservations and such.
I'm going to take it a bit further. Our country wasn't built on hollow bones. Our country has been built on blood. It has been built on death. It has been built on pain. We have killed, slaughtered, and taken, just like every other culture.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is that was our whole establishment. As my grandfather used to put it, England sent over its criminals, its scum, and its monsters to see if there was something here. And then they got surprised when the dogs they sent bit back. That is what America was founded on. So, like the rabid dogs we are, we no longer have any more food to eat. And so we will eat each other. We are not, and this again has to do with the fact that we are not people that are just come together, wrap our arms around each other, and work together. No. We work together because there was an enemy that we needed to fight. America got to the point in which we were big enough to where no one wanted to be our enemy. And so we sat. And eventually, we realized, we're still hungry. We still want more. But we can't really go out, so what do? Well, we're still pretty big. Let's see, maybe I'll take a chunk out of myself. And because of that, we have reached, and it started off slowly, and it started with simple divides. But then our politics, and this was the worst part, our politics leaned into the divides and made it worse.
You just gave me the thought that I had when I was watching the election. The way they talk, the way the maps are up, the red, the blue, you got to take this path to win this
Red
state,
coat.
the battleground states. It feels like a war room.
It does. It looks like one. Yeah.
Feels like one, looks like one. It's designed like a war room. Our politics is decided like a war.
And see, because of how weak we've gotten, this war takes the form of opinions and information.
Opinion.
And this makes everything messy. Because now everyone's confused. And again, a major part of the dumb system of democracy, or the fragile system of democracy, is that it requires everyone to be educated and to know what is happening for it to work. But when your information is used to fight the other side and everything becomes a modeled mess of information that's leaning this way or information leaning that way, guess what? We have a bunch of people who don't have a full picture. And then they proceed to use their incomplete picture to vote and to use democracy. And our system then is built off of broken Legos. So eventually, after a certain point, like Jenga, we'll keep pulling out these things, and eventually it starts to crumble. But when it crumbles, it's either going to be a very bloody mess, or we're going to have to do something with democracy and fix it.
Actually, so touching on that point, so one of part of Trump's agenda is to eliminate on a federal level the Department of Education to continue the dumbing down of our nation, because dumb people are easier to control. Let's put it that way.
I think, and this is just historically speaking, and speaking of historical, I think this is more about changing history and deciding what is learned, not necessarily to dumb us down, but to change the narrative, to change the perspective, to change the optics. Because once you do
To
that,
fit his propaganda, because he wants people to learn like him,
oh,
to think like him.
it's going completely past propaganda at that point. It's literally rewriting history. Like you're literally making things disappear. Slaves won't be a thing.
He describes this as a secret weapon against the Marxist maniacs and lunatics that are controlling education.
We know they're stupid. Like that, and that's what I mean. We wasted too much time discussing how dumb he is instead of trying to figure out the best ways to beat him. And then when we do beat him, how do we A, keep him down, B, make sure that we keep progressing our country forward and out of this fucking mess. People were focused on the wrong fucking things.
Yep.
Trying to win a war. Because war, you have a different mentality than trying to win a debate. Much more aggressive tactics, which that's
You know
what
what else to
they
do?
what?
Inflexibility. Democrats didn't change their plans. Democrats have locked on to certain ideas and refused to change those ideas, refused to compromise on those ideas. In this specific election, as we were talking about earlier, Trump, in his previous ones, told his followers not to go to early voting, right? In this one, the entire Republican Party endorsed early voting.
Mm-hmm.
They saw where they lost last time and fixed their strategies to fix it this time.
And Trump was on board.
When it comes to Democrats, one, there's not a central idea to save Democrats' lives. There's 30 different
independent.
Hold on, even Kamala being president didn't
Bless
have the
you.
complete support of all Democrats.
Mhm.
Okay, they were still all over the place. This whole time, there was not a single, or not, there weren't any major players in this presidential election for the Democrats. They were going behind Biden, and then Biden drops out. So, of course, everything falls apart. But instead of adapting, what do? They just keep going the same way. We just go figure it out. And then they chose concepts or ideas to stick on that weren't the greatest. Gun control is an issue that Democrats have been fighting, understandably, with shootings and things. But it's also an issue.
Yeah.
It's an issue because Americans are quite ready to defend their guns.
Oh, we've had them shits at the beginning.
And
we
also,
needed them at the beginning. The British were coming.
but see, here's the thing. That's also a sign of strength. That they want to keep their guns because they can fight back with them. But then
Yeah.
over here on the Democrats' side, we don't want to keep the guns. We want to get rid of them, which means we have no weapons to fight back with, which again makes us.
As I like to say, speak for yourself. Listen, I might be a liberal, but I like to bear my arms, if you know what I'm saying. I just don't want my children to have to be able to bear arms and bring them to school. That's,
And
other people doing that.
That's the part.
Psychological checks that needs to be done. Like, you can't just ban guns in general, because guns don't kill people. People kill people. Gun is just a tool.
Yeah, that's a concept I've always had an issue with, that guns don't kill people, people kill people. I understand the sentiment. I get the sentiment.
Mm-hmm. Whether it be a gun, a knife, a hammer, they might come at you. They're going to come at you.
But a gun's origin was specifically designed to equalize the weakness in yourself so that you may beat your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Period. It's not a tool, it's a weapon. There's a difference. It's a weapon. A hammer is not a weapon, it's a tool. It can be used as a weapon. Hell, you can use a flip flop as a weapon, as a tool, but it's not it wasn't designed to be a weapon though. A gun was. It was designed to kill people.
Yeah.
That's the
also too with this kind. Also with this history, like with America's history with guns in general, the idea of the right to bear arms was because it was expected for its citizens to be a militia when called upon. Like back when it's originally, first of all, it was back written when it was just like a little gunpowder musket and not these AK-47s that everyone could run around with. But like it was like the idea was implemented that every citizen or every male citizen at that time and age would be militia. Like it wasn't really the concept of a volunteer military was more modern times. Up until that point, you were a man, you were healthy, you did military when called upon. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yes. And there's also another thing that I feel like we've forgotten.
What's that?
It's that at the time, there was this idea that if the government were to ever get to a point in which the people did not agree with it, the people would have the force necessary to overturn said government.
Yeah.
It was
However,
apparently we forgot about that point and have just accepted the government as a thing that just is.
Yeah. But also you got to keep in mind when that was written, again, it was gunpowder muskets, not AK-47s versus tanks. It was like, yeah, we can go up and try to go against the government, but government got tanks. We got no tanks.
But also, there are people behind those tanks, which means that they aren't always on the same path. Yeah, we got people serving the government. Just because you serve don't mean that's the only choice. If you choose not to, now those tanks are on your side. It's a matter of who's willing to do what.
Well, yeah, but also too that if you're in the military and you're doing something like that you are risking a military career, and you better make sure you win, because otherwise you are getting court-martialed to high heaven.
But see, that's the thing though.
So it's a risk. It's a high risk. So you better make sure that one, the side you're gonna switch to is gonna win, and two, make sure it's worth it. Like if it's what you believe it to your core, you think it's worth it, then have at it. But it's a risk.
Let me ask, what do y'all think, honestly? Because we've all had plenty of time to think about our fears. What do y'all think is going to happen now?
What are we talking?
Let's see. Well, like I said, I have his agenda right up on here. So the other thing is abortion. Now, Trump didn't really talk much on abortion. He maintains that overturning Roe versus Wade is enough on the federal level and just let the states decide, which I'm like, just a big mistake, like a Texas, enough said. But he has stated that he would veto a federal ban on abortion. But it's unclear whether or not he would aggressively defend against legal challenges seeking to restrict access to abortion pills as well as birth control. So it's very vague on how Trump stands. Now, he's not going to try to force the federal government to mandate Roe versus Wade back. He's just letting the states just do whatever the hell they want to do, which is like not the best idea because you pretty much are allowing politicians to think women control when they have menstrual cycles and when they don't. Making laws about something that is at times could be a life or death medical necessity for women to live. I mean, there has been a handful of women due to Texas very extreme abortion ban that have died in miscarriages and ectopic pregnancies, where if they were in another state, they would have gotten the proper treatment because these doctors fear how stringent Texas abortion ban is and the repercussions if you break that law, doctors are afraid to treat women in pregnancy crisis. And it's causing death and harm to women that is unnecessary. It's barbaric and disgusting.
So,
and also when that's going around Facebook, you cannot ban abortion, only safe abortion.
Okay.
And also too, like people don't like, cause like people think abortion, it's like, oh, cause she's getting an abortion cause she doesn't want the baby. No, abortion also includes miscarriage care, DNCs, ectopic pregnancies, unviable pregnancies that cause risk to the mother's health, or that it also includes death. The idea that, oh, life begins at conception is such a nuanced belief because most, like I was raised Catholic, and in our Bible it says in Genesis, life begins at first breath. So how can something breathe if it's still in zygote?
I think that's where we touched on this earlier. Abortions are necessary for health reasons.
Yeah.
That wasn't. I don't think that's what they were arguing. They were. The argument was, of course, pro-choice versus pro-life. Like your belief that once a fetus becomes, once you know you're pregnant, that is now a person. It looks like murder to some people's perspective, even at the expense of the mother.
But then they don't go get the abortion. Your religious beliefs do not dictate what I do or don't do with my vagina.
There are people who will take that to the grave and say, well, if you can't save me, then save my baby. And to them, that should be good enough for a mother. So they're trying to spread that sentiment to everybody else.
Yeah, and also too, well, there's a Texas strict abortion bill. Like women who are victims of rape or incest, including young children as young as 12. Like there was a 12-year-old in Texas who was raped by an uncle, and Texas refused them an abortion. They literally had to take this child out of state so she didn't have to go through the trauma of being pregnant at 12 by her fucking uncle who raped her.
There's a lot of things, and that's enough. Yeah, see, that's crazy enough. Everything you're saying is very, very viable, but also everything you're saying is the exact reason why Trump won. Because everybody has their own agenda, and men don't get pregnant.
No, we get stuck with it.
Yeah,
you guys can run.
Yeah, we have the ability to do that. So that's why Trump got a lot of the men vote, because men, whether it be black, white, Puerto Rican, we didn't believe that Kamala was even thinking about us. So that's why they went to Trump. Trump is good for our pockets, and men are about our pockets because we're supposed to be the breadwinners. So we're like, if Trump is going to protect my money, that's where I'm going to go. Like, you guys trying to woo us with you have a mother, you have a sister, you're going to have a daughter one day. That's still not straying away from, we still have a personal agenda of our own. Dang.
So, what you just said brought me back to one of the major downfalls of the Democrat Party. And this has been a thing that has been happening for a very long time. But it's the alienation of white males. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it.
They're fragile white man.
But see, that's the problem. That right there is the problem. In what has happened, not recently, but in the past 10, 12 years, has been a major movement, a major shift in ideals that has had it so that we've put race, in my opinion, at a further front center. Race has always been an issue to people, but we've made it so that it is almost a political subject.
Centerpiece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
because of it, we have pushed certain races into a corner because of the horrors of the past and the perceived concept that we must pay for the sins of those that came before us. Because of that, white men have been alienated. And Trump masterfully made it so that they weren't. He gave them someone to go under. Now, what the Democrats failed to do was to stop that. Because what they thought they were doing was supporting the color, or the people of color. But what they did was create a sort of, no, not a sort of, they created another form of racism. And this form of racism, I know, no one wants to hear this. This form of racism made it easier for white men to go under Trump. Instead of alienating a group of people, which we've always done, we should have found a way. I don't know. I don't know how to put it. We've spent so much time pulling each other apart that we didn't realize how bad that got when we needed people to come together. We needed a whole bunch of people to come together under Kamala. And the reason it didn't happen is because we had spent so much time tearing each other down. And one of the major things that ended up happening is not a lot, but a larger population of, I know, Latino men ended up voting for Trump, which was something the Democratic Party was not prepared for. The Democratic Party assumed that because they have been supporting people of color, that they would have the support back. But again, race isn't always the first concern. As Wes was talking about earlier, the first concern, especially with men, is money and being able to provide. So the moment we keep separating each other. Now, this is a thing that humans have dealt with for all time. We have never been able to successfully be together. Even before racism, we had classism. We have to work to find a way to see each other. I don't want to say as equals because that also has its own separate, but we need to be able to work together more effectively. This tearing down of each other isn't helping.
Yeah. Also, I think too, like, because because I think you're right with because I think the Democrats trying to lean too much on, we're here for the minorities, we're here for the LGBTQ community, we're going to protect you, we're going to protect you. Okay, but you're not saying how, and also too, not for nothing, but the conservative Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade on the federal, Roe versus Wade on the federal level on your fucking watch. So I don't think it's not just about race, too, it's just about the fact that during Biden's administration, a lot of people, even people who are Democratic supporters, lost faith in their party because, okay, you're saying you're here to protect women's rights, or to move, we're the party, you're supposed to be the party to push forward, not to go backwards, not to take the clock back to 1940, to 1932 when, women barely had the right to vote for 10 years and we can't divorce our husbands and, all this other fucked up, and racism law and Jim Crow laws as well. But one of the big things that you were supposed to be protecting got repealed under your watch. So how am I supposed to trust that you're gonna protect and push forward when you can't even hold on to something that was already a right for me?
It's called war. It's called a war strategy. Things happened under the Biden administration because he didn't have the full support of the House and the Senate and the Supreme Courts. They know that's why they've been preaching in recent years how important it is to also vote for Congress, your Senate, and your local government because it's a war strategy. Even if we get the presidency, if we don't have those other spots, we can't get anything done. And believe it or not, the ones with the most power is in fact Congress and the Senate because they're the ones that's making crap up. All they're doing is sending it to the president to sign and then sending
Okay.
it to the Supreme Court to make sure that it's not against the law. If it's not against the law, they can do what they fucking want. So it's a strategy. That's how this all happens.
On Trump expand the executive branch, aka the presidential power.
And that's why they're trying to do that because it technically doesn't have any.
It's like literally watching Palpatine slowly take over the Republic to make it the Galactic Empire.
Except Palpatine was in the shadows. This nigga Trump is doing that shit loud and proud, and we watching that nigga do it.
Yeah, Trump is like being a Palpatine, but he's screaming like a Hitler.
That's if there's not someone manipulating Trump's strings.
Oh, of course. Come on, guys. Come on, guys.
I always feel like well, here's also the thing about Trump, because I feel like Trump is kind of a smart dude. But back in like 1990s, when Oprah was like at when Oprah's talk show was at her prime, like Trump even admitted to Oprah, if I was going to run for president, I would have voted under the Republican ticket because Republicans are idiots, and they'll do whatever now I can convince them to do whatever I want.
I mean, you can say that about the Democrats too, though. Like, it's a strategy. If they honestly thought they could win with Trump, they would also use Trump.
It's like he'll put anything on his name. It's like he's like a pick-me boy. He's a very rich pick-me boy.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to say about Trump. I've been watching Trump pretty much my whole life. He had his little stint with Vince McMahon in WWE. He had his little "You're Fired" show. You know, I've seen him on TV. We know who he is. Trump knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not an idiot. He's not this. And believe it or not, that person that we see on camera, that's not fucking him. He doesn't act like that. He doesn't think those thoughts. Let me explain something to y'all on some science shit. And this is scientifically proven. If somebody is being watched, any animal, if they know they're being watched, they're going to behave differently. This camera, us three, this isn't us. We know we're being watched. We know people are going to be seeing this. We're going to behave differently. And not to mention, Trump comes from an entertainment background. He's not just a businessman, he comes from entertainment. That's what he built his platform off of. That's what we wanted to see. It was fun. Right? Yeah, you hate to admit it. It was fun.
Like I'd rather him be on The Apprentice telling people they're fired instead of being president. Personally.
I mean, the problem is we don't have any leaders anymore. There are a lot of problems, but this is one of the problems. We don't have any real leaders anymore. When you gotta call celebrities to come speak at rallies, we don't have any more leaders. We don't. We're not saying that these people that you called up can't be intellectual people, can't be smart people that may have some whatever. But at the end of the day, you don't spend your life doing politics. You don't spend your life in this world. There's no reason why you should be coming over here talking to me about why I should vote for this person. Because you're only telling me because you know you have influence over a certain sect of people, and you know if you tell them, hey, vote for this person, they're just going to go fucking do it. It's called an endorsement. That's what endorsements are. We're not getting politicians and other known leaders as endorsements. We're getting celebrity endorsements. Good celebrities, but celebrities nonetheless. Watered down, mean nothing. We don't have any real leaders, and that's why the Democratic Party is plummeting.
You know what I love? I love being told by people who do not have a care in the world about where their next paycheck is coming from. I love it when they tell me who to vote for. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay. Well, speaking on that, here's Trump's plan on taxes. He wants to lower the corporate income tax rate to 15% from the current 21%, so his buddies will have more money in the pocket, keeping the rich rich. And also, too, now this is interesting. He's proposing something for the working and middle class Americans. He wants to exempt taxing on tips Social Security wages and overtime wages from income taxes. However, now it sounds like a good proposal. Like, I'm like, okay, you know what? Listen, it might be worth it to be a waitress again. Let's put it that way. Might just think it'll be taxed. You put in that hustle, you make some good bank.
Now,
But however, here's the thing. However, like that his proposal on tips, depending on how Congress might write it, could give a backdoor tax break to top wage earners by allowing them to reclassify some of their pay as tip income. A prospect at its most extreme could see hedge fund managers or top flight attorneys taking advantage of the policy.
we want to go back to the corporate tax. That's been one of the rhetorics they've been spewing, that Trump is trying to cut taxes for his buddies. And I had another thought about that. Now, not saying this is what they're doing, but I had a thought of, if you cut taxes for the billionaires, they get more money. Half the reason why prices are going up is because we raise taxes on them, and they still want their fucking money. And I gotta tell people, money comes from somewhere. Nothing is free. Somebody's paying for this. So if they're not getting the money that they were used to getting, they're going to get it from somewhere else. They're going to get it from us. So my thought process is, if we lower their taxes, is the prices on our stuff going to go down as well? And it was. Our dollar went far when Trump was president. I remember that. I don't know if that was because of him. That could have been because of Obama and his stuff coming into play. But
tax laws took into effect when Trump came into office. Because you have to understand, some of these laws take effect a year or two after some of these presidents leave. So it was probably it's a possibility that it was one of Obama's things that he got passed before he bounced, and then Trump just took the credit for it because it happened under his watch, because it was fruitful under his watch. But also you have to understand too, our current our slow downward spiral of our economy is due to Reaganomics. The idea was that Reaganomics, aka the trickle down concept, where so the company made so much extra money, we're going to trickle it down to our workers. Now, that worked for a time because the bosses had honor. Bosses were willing to share. However, no one was really watching to make sure this was happening. Over time, bosses got greedy. Bosses want to buy a yacht, second yacht, third yacht. So it's not trickling down like it's supposed to.
There was no honor. There's never been honor. They only did it because they knew at that point in time.
And so when the ones they lost, now you're seeing stagnant wages because nothing's trickled down.
They waited until no one was paying attention and then went back to what all humans do, and that's look after their own asses.
Yep. Like where I live, sometimes if you want to make more money, you got to bounce you're going to have to put a resume into your job's competitors or a different line of work. There's some corporation here that don't even give raises. It's like, you want a raise, go to the bigger corporation across the street, give them a resume, and hope they hire you.
Okay. I want to know, Dane, what do you think is going to happen next?
A term or long term?
I want to know if you got to give both. I want to know the game plan. What's about to happen?
Well, I'll say this. It depends on how patient the American people is, especially the people against Trump, how patient they are. Okay? Because depending, it could be an immediate reaction where things go to chaos, where people start fighting back. But I don't see that happening because currently those against Trump they do not have the biggest cojones.
They're not. I mean, if anything, it would be more hacking and leaking information. Like those people who are very anti-Trump. It'd be more like, anonymous hacking, leaking secret documents that, he doesn't want you to know that he's doing, because, it's because it's something that would be unpopular even among his people. So it'd be more like informational war rather than gun-ho war.
So then why are we going back?
Technology and information. But then the problem is, you have a lot of people, a lot of Trump cultists, I like to call them, like the ones who are spewing "Let Trump be our dictator," we'll just say fake news. Meanwhile, it's like it's not fake news, guys. This is legit documents. But if you want to believe the Earth is flat, that's on you.
I see that as a middle stage. I don't think that's how it'll start. It'll start with social media. It'll start with the complaining, the crying, and the posturing on social media. My belief is that as time passes, and as Trump and his administration start to pass more things, depending on how volatile those things are, then things will start to escalate. And it'll build up to a breaking point where we'll go from the social media complaining to, like you said, cyber attacks, to soft attacks. Then, if things still continue on, we'll get a little bit more active. We'll probably see peaceful protests. And then we'll see rioting. And then I am under the belief that we will see some major chaos. I'm expecting bloodshed. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm expecting bloodshed. Right? And I'm expecting a realization of the nature of Americans. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Also, I mean, that is all a possibility, but I also, too, I feel because Trump is very much a businessman. He went to school for business. He comes from a business family. Before he went into entertainment, he was a real estate guy. So I feel like some of the things he's feeling that he's going to do during his term, I don't think he's going to do it all. Like, I feel like if anything, he would probably start with this tax cut and try to get like these tax exemptions that would help people put more money in their pockets first. Like, butter it off, soften it up, give them the sweet deal, and then while everyone's happy, you take away the LGBTQ protections. You slowly take away immigration protections. Slowly take away all those hot button stuff that people wouldn't want him to touch, like the Department of Education, things like that. But as long as people are happy because they now have more money, taking away these rights will be okay, right? It's the idea of bread and circus. You give people, you feed the people, you entertain them. They'll be happy. They'll be happier than pig and shit, and wouldn't even know, and wouldn't even care what you do.
So what I believe is going to happen is more or less what Candy just said. I don't think anything's going to happen. I think Roe v. Wade was the tastemaker. I think that was they were testing to see how we would react. We bitched, we moaned for what, a week. I watched, I paid attention. I wanted to see because I knew it was going to go away.
Yeah, the majority of people bitching about for a week, but there's some of us who are still bitching.
But here's the thing about the ones who are still bitching: we don't still care enough to look for them. On top of the fact that they're not being shown by the media. You stop showing us for long enough, we stop caring until things actually start happening as a result of what happened. And
yeah, but also too, like what people don't know is that there are women in Texas who are bringing their stories to the Supreme Court to tell them, like, hey, you have to amend what the states are allowing for these abortion bans, because Texas's abortion ban is infringing on my health and my right to pursue life and happiness.
You're right.
To pursue life in this country.
So that's what I was going to ask. That's what I was going to ask. What right exactly is banning your abortion affecting?
So what it is that they want to take is that the women there's a group of women in Texas who have been hurt by the Texas abortion ban, medically speaking, and also family members representing women that have died due to the Texas's stringent abortion ban because of the way it's written. So they're taking a case to the Supreme Court to mandate or force Texas's hand to rewrite it to allow abortion in the state of Texas for medical purposes or medical emergencies. Because the way Texas abortion ban is written, it's like Oh, if it's an emergency, still no. Oh, you got raped? No. Just straight no.
So
The only time the Texas will allow abortion is if the fetus doesn't have a heartbeat. But you can have a ectopic pregnancy and that fetus still having a heartbeat. But if you allow that ectopic pregnancy to grow, it will burst, cause internal bleeding, and death. So you're not going to allow a simple medical procedure to remove something that could cause death before it causes harm.
It sounds like banning abortion isn't against anything in the Constitution specifically. And if that is the case,
well, that was the Roe versus Wade. That was the whole argument of Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade allowed for that medical access as needed. Now, because the federal government turned around and said it's not going to be protected on a federal level, so we're going to let the states decide. And then you have states who are heavily, I'm not saying Republican, I'm saying heavily Christian, like heavily old school, biblical conservative that believe putting the life of the baby over the life of the mother. Laws written by men who think women can control their menstrual cycles or, we can't get pregnant from rape. Clearly you never passed Bio 101 or didn't pay attention in health class. Or clearly you skipped sex ed. Doctors aren't making these laws. People who never paid attention in health class are. That's the problem. And now for that, okay, so if you want to ban abortion, let's ban Viagra. Because if it's God's will for me to have a baby, then it's God's will for men to be impotent.
I was like, you want to do it or?
Oh no, I'm probably going to piss a bunch of people off on a whole separate issue.
Okay.
Why is it? No, okay. Christians, cover your ears, please. Why is it that we feel the need? Why is it that women feel the need to follow a God who punish, if we're going with the first woman not being Eve, punish the first woman for not being willing to submit to a male, and then punished all women with the burden of period pains and pregnancy? That is the God that we have chosen to follow. Also, one who has attempted to destroy all of humanity multiple times. Hey, Wes, enough. I'm pretty sure one is enough for people to be like, maybe we shouldn't be following said ideals.
Wait, some of those ideals you're talking about, those are like man-made doctrines. Like, the only thing that's really was clearly ever written by Stone per se, according to, by God himself, was like the 10 Commandments. If you want to follow, like,
on a stone where it is, it can't be destroyed. It can't be destroyed, but nobody has it.
Yeah, one of the commandments is thou shalt not worship other gods before me, for I am a jealous God.
Yeah, that's which to me was always kind of a red flag. If we want to talk about it real quick, like that was always a red flag to me. So you're allowed to be jealous, but we're not allowed to be envious. And then they always used to say, well, envy is a stronger emotion than jealousy. And I'm like, yeah, but not really. How come he can destroy us because he's jealous? Doesn't that make that envy? If he turned me into dust because I was standing in front of this gold bull and had my hands like this, and now I'm just a pile of rubble, is that not envy?
That's called bullshit. You locked the door, but I had to walk through.
It's good.
Hold on. Just to continue pissing off all Abrahamic religions at the moment. Question: if there are no other gods, why did the Abrahamic God feel the need to say, hey, don't worship any besides me?
Okay, I grew up a college boy, so I know all the answers that they gave us. It wasn't specifically gods that existed. It was basically saying, don't give any other thing the kind of worship that you give me. Don't make something else your God.
Yeah.
Why is this an issue? If you are all powerful and people start worshiping a object without power, why do you feel the need to tell them to stop? Other than pure fucking pride. Now, hold on. If I'm not mistaken, along up there with envy, pretty sure pride's one of those sins, isn't it?
One of the worst ones, if I'm not mistaken.
You have your 7 deadly sins, which are lust, wrath, envy, sloth, greed, pride, and gluttony.
Pretty sure pride was always seen as one of the worst ones.
Now this is a being who doesn't want anyone else but him worshipped, who, when you don't follow his instructions, may or may not bring plagues, death, disease.
Don't be Egyptian Pharaoh.
Ah, yeah. Oh, his son. Wonderful. And his people. Lovely. Floods. And then also has promised that sometime in the future, rivers will turn red, the sun will go black, he'll summon locusts, and only a select few will be saved from this hell. This is a promise for the future, not something that happened in the past.
Oh, you're talking about the prophecy of Armageddon,
The
where it's supposed to be
rapture.
the great power from the east versus the great power from. Well, I grew up with the Catholic Bible, not the King James version. So for us, it's different. It's more about a great power in the east versus a great power west in an area of Israel, where the big giant serpent comes and all hellfire breaks through and comes attacking. And the most virtuous will stand to fight it along with Jesus Christ, and that's the second coming, to be our general to lead us against the evil force, the demons that have come and arrived to kill us all.
Basically, yeah.
The demons that this God allowed to be created.
The fallen angels.
Yeah. His people.
Pretty much the rebels who are behind Satan or Lucifer the Light Bringer, whichever version or name.
There are multiples. Unfortunately, the title of devil has gotten so confused. There's no guarantee that Satan and Lucifer are the same being. Just like there's no
Depending
guarantee.
on which version of the story you believe in, they're either one and the same or they're completely different. Like in the Catholic Bible, I believe they're considered like two separate. I think but also depends on which like gospel you read. If it's Mark, Luke, or whatever, because one guy says Lucifer and Satan's the same dude, and then the other guy is saying it ain't. So no one can agree if Lucifer and Satan are one and the same guy, because Lucifer in Latin means light bringer.
Oh, but that's a perfect example of another thing. Why is this our instruction manual? Why is it that there are 13,000 different versions of an instruction manual we are attempting to use to lead the people of today?
Well, if you're talking about Christianity, because for Judaism you have the Torah, and then you have the Quran for Islam. But when you have Christian, because Christianity all started back with the Catholics. We were the only ones for the while. There was only Catholicism for a while until Lutheranism took hold, and then you had to break off from the church, and then Protestantism spread across Europe. And that's where you get the King James Version of the Bible, but it's not. But also, too, it wasn't just like, oh, there's going to be a Catholic Church and a Protestant Church, because we believe in less pageantry tradition and our own version, our own thought process of the Bible, instead of following old pageantry, sit, stand, kneel, pray, repeat, wash, rinse, repeat, very ritualistic old, traditions. But then when Protestantism broke off, you had Lutheranism. So you had Lutherans, you got your Methodists, you got your Church of England, you've got your Methodists, you've got your Jehovah's Witnesses now. You have so many different sects.
I believe that it is perfectly fine to develop your character and your personal values from your religion. I believe it is absurd to attempt to create governmental values with your religion.
Well, that's why our founders said separation of church and state. America was founded based upon the idea of religious freedom. Because Puritans came over from England because they were being persecuted in England for being the prudest motherfuckers around.
Our democracy is a mess because we don't know how to. Between a mishandled education, between religion still, for whatever reason, being an important subject in politics.
Because there's people in politics that want to turn America into a Christian nation when we're not supposed to be a Christian nation. We're supposed to be a nation of religious freedom and tolerance.
Too much confusion. It's too much noise And because of that, we can't even form clear thoughts anymore. And without that, without all of us with clear minds, democracy runs into a lot of issues between voting, between passing things. We have to somehow clear the waters a bit.
So one of those fantasy versus reality type things. The melting pot conceptually sounds good. All of us coming
I
together,
mean, it worked for a
one nice
while.
little, you're Muslim, I'm Jewish, we arm in arm, you're black, I'm white, we buddy buddy. It all sounds good conceptually until you realize that we literally have different upbringings, we literally have different mentalities, we have completely different agendas, and it's all in this one melting pot where you can only really have one agenda. So whose agenda do you do? How do you combine all of these different people's religions and cultures and do what's best for everybody simultaneously?
Well, the idea was like, you do you, I do me. We hang out once in a while. We exchange food.
Conceptually, like I said, conceptually speaking, that's all it would be, but it's not. That's not all it is.
I mean, what about the rest of the country?
I'm not from New York, but I'm pretty sure even in New York, it's not as simple as you do you, I'm gonna do me, everything is fine. You're going to cross paths, and that's where problems start.
No, I have to say, New York is like, move out of my way. You walking too slow.
Y'all are literally universally known as being the main confrontational people in the country. So I don't even know how you're even saying that right now. You guys are
Because
known for confrontation.
here's the biggest secret about New York. We are kind, but we're not nice. We will help you bring down your stroller down the steps to the subway, but we will not stop and talk and chit chat and let you say thank you. We will help you. We will not say a word. We'll pick up the under stroller. We'll bring it down. Once you're down and good, I'm out.
Uh, is New York
I gotta
blue
keep
or red? I don't remember.
majority, it's blue.
Okay.
I mean, there are areas that are red, but it's a majority a blue state.
So here's something I want to touch on about that. Go ahead, Dan, because I can wait on this point.
My head, it just started hurting the moment we started talking red and blue. Okay,
When I think blue, when I think red and blue, I think red versus blue, like Halo,
long live church.
or the robot chicken, red versus blue from back in the day. Those skits.
But I believe we were told way back in the beginnings of America that political parties would be the death of democracy.
Clearly,
Our political system is absurd when it comes to parties. Okay, I am listed as independent because I didn't want to be labeled as Republican or Democrat.
same.
Explain to me why I am not allowed to vote for both sides in elections for
The primary.
Yes, for primaries. Yes. Why am I not allowed to vote for either side if I'm not specifically on one or other side? At that point, what the fuck was the point in me choosing? Okay, I would like to vote for a person, not a party. I want to vote for whoever is right for the job. Why is our system so dependent on our parties?
Honestly, I feel like that mentality. Okay, honestly, as an observer of history, I feel like that mentality started with the Tea Party movement within the Republican Party, like right at the end of Bush Jr.'s second term administration, when you had people in the Republican Party saying the Republican Party wasn't conservative enough. So you had this kind of idea, like within the Republican Party, there was another separate party called the Tea Party, which were the extreme conservatives who were the ones that were calling for restricting LGBT rights and banning abortion, which you're hearing, which is sounding a little familiar there. Which, depending on who you talk to, some have said the Tea Party is now the Republican Party, and a lot of those moderate Republicans have switched over to the Democratic Party.
Why do we have parties?
So like that. So it's like that mentality started around that time, and then over time just escalated because when younger voters were learning about politics, and people see, children see children do. They're seeing people just sticking to voting for their party loyalty over the right person for the job, and that's the problem. That's what people are seeing.
But
That's what they're being taught. Instead of being behind a person because you think it's the right person for their job, it's like you're rooting for a sports team.
what you guys are going to find is that all that is happening is what has always happened. It happens in smaller groups, it happens in larger groups. It always narrows down to an us versus them. It's always two groups. Why? Because two groups usually are the ones that hold the power. And if you're independent, you're ass out. You're alone. You're gonna wind up in the middle. You're either gonna get pulled to one side, pushed to one side, or you're gonna be destroyed in the middle. We've been fighting. There have been two-party fights since it was Homo sapiens versus Neanderthals.
We have more than two parties.
We
No,
do more than
no,
two
we don't.
parties.
No, we
The
don't.
other
No, we
parties
don't.
have the most power, and they have the most funding and money to back it up.
Exactly.
You're
going to get pulled to one
because
side, pushed to one side. You'll get destroyed in the middle. There is no other party, even if there is another party.
we need more than two. Like, I think we need to give more money to the other parties, so that way we have like an 8-party system like England does. I mean, it works for them.
Where the money comes from your personal wallet. This comes from the people who are already on your side. There is no money on the independent side because they know their money is going to be wasted because there's nobody over there. There is no other
Okay,
party.
then how come with this election we got 2 independent senators now? 2, one from Vermont and one from Maine, which was Bernie. But now we got another Biden, so now it's 2.
Couple of independents sprinkled in. It doesn't mean anything.
See, that's the thing. I need more of us to step back from this two-party madness. Cause options.
No.
There's green, there's libertarian, there's actually just independent. There's other options.
Before marijuana got legalized, there was the Marijuana Reform Party.
That's that's what I'm trying to explain. They're two already established. So unless there's some multi-billionaire and even then it's specifically designed to where you can't donate more than like what $20,000 or something to the party to ensure that it doesn't. So there's already too many people with these two. You're not going to be able to gain enough people for any other party to rival them, which means there's going to be wasted time, wasted money. Bottom line is don't waste money. This was the most expensive presidency race of all time. What was like billions of dollars was spent campaigning. That money has to come, but the money has to come from somewhere. And the independents don't got no money. They ain't never going to get no money. They're never going to get enough money to do anything. There is a two-party system. It's here now. It's not going anywhere. The only thing that's going to happen now is that it's going to destroy itself. That's it.
From its ashes, we might get a new opportunity. Okay, either we need no parties, and to go back to the original idea,
Monarchy.
or no. Okay, that's a tad bit different. Okay, no parties doesn't mean monarchy.
I need to get rid of no
No
parties though.
Just people.
People are
We
naturally
had
going to want to shack up, bro. That's what I'm saying. People are not you. I already know that me and you are on the same accord because we used to be Democrats back in the day. So me and you are naturally going. Have you watched things like Survivor? Have you watched things like The Challenge? Have you watched those shows where everybody starts their own person, but by the end everybody is on a side because that's what you have to do to survive. It's always going to happen, even if you start over.
But humans are the one animal that has never responded to the rules of nature correctly. Why is it that we must respond to this rule?
It's
Why
not
is
a
it that
rule.
we
It's
constantly
literally
have to
our
work
rule.
together?
No, it's our rule. That's what we do. We can't help but clumping together to make ourselves stronger, and that's how we always wind up with two groups of people fighting, even though we all started out as individuals.
And maybe that's the issue. Maybe we don't have enough individual strength.
Then we've never had enough individual strength. Then, like I said, there has never been a time, and again, this is something I touched on in the past. Fallen Guardians that I just wrote. There has never been a time that somewhere on this earth that humans were not fighting each other. War, some fucking where, somewhere, somebody is fighting at all times
That's not.
since caveman versus
That's
Neanderthals.
why is it that when we work, why is it that we feel the need? I don't know. No, I fucking hate humans.
I'd say that's it. That's it. That's all you can say. There's nothing to be done at this point. We're here. We're in the downward spiral. The only way out is hitting the fucking ground.
Well, I was already with the ready to watch the world burn category, so I'm sorry. I'm ready to go behind the anarchists. Fuck it at this point. That's just...
I'm down for the purge. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. That's probably my favorite franchise, bro. I love the purge. Conceptually, it makes sense. But do I really think that if people are given one night a year to do crime, that they won't do crime the rest of the year? Because there's still that urge, and people don't control their fucking urges. So no, I don't think it's going to be that effective. But I would like to see them attempt. I would love a night to just let the intrusive thoughts win. I think we all would. We may not want to admit it, and you don't even got to admit to what you would want to do. But be real. You will want to do some stuff that is definitely illegal.
That might be breaking some convention.
I mean, if it ain't a law, who cares about morals?
We want to talk about made up things.
The social contract.
Social contracts are also made up because there's nothing binding us to. Just because I tell you that I won't betray you doesn't mean that I fucking won't. In a perfect world,
It's a very convenient subject.
I think we're done here.
I think we said our piece. Moral of the story, we're going to wait and see what happens next. Guess we never know. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future. All I could do is just wait and see. In the meantime, just enjoy my rerun of Power Rangers, run my fan fiction, and just keep living my life.
In 2025, we were supposed to have, SPD.
Yeah,
Project
SPD is supposed to be next year.
Yo, what if I read Project 2025 and that's something akin to SPD in there? I might wait, Space Patrol Delta. What the fuck? This nigga Trump is this nigga might be onto something. But no, I think I want my final thought to be this.
Watch it burn. Sorry.
Close. Make sure in the next 4 years you guys don't spend too much time having fun in your fantasy that you forget about reality and you suffer those consequences. We are so far off from a fantasy world, but it's starting to look more and more like the fantasy world that we don't want to live in. Like an Attack on Titan type of fucking world.
Oh god, hell no. I mean, the first season, like season 1 and 2 were great, and then when you get to 3 seasons, you're like, oh fuck this shit, I'm out.
I mean, first of all, there are a handful of Titan powers, and then how you gotta acquire them is risky. So I would, let's just stay out of your fantasy world, guys. We try to stay immersed in the reality because we need our wits about us. We got to do this shit together, and please, which is always my advice, don't panic. Calm down. Everything is going to be Thank you guys for joining us on Generations of the Grid. We are your hosts. I'm Wes.
I'm Candace.
And I'm Damien.
And we will see you guys next time, hopefully.
All right. We'll leave all the dark topics. We'll give it a break.
And may the power protect you, because we're going to need it.
All right.